what's up guys, Pablo here with another video, and today we have the unboxing and my first thoughts and impressions on the Zoom Winflo 8 by Nike. As usual with these running shoe videos, I love running and it's my favorite form of exercise, but I am not a professional runner by any means. Also, I ran only a little bit over 6 miles with these shoes so far, so keep that in mind while watching the video. The Winflo 8 is the 2021 take on the running shoe from Nike, and as the name states, is the 8th version or generation of the shoe. The shoes retail for $90 US and they were released in April of 2021. You can purchase the shoes at Nike and at a couple other retailers here in the US. The shoes were shipped in Nike's non-environmentally friendly package, and they come inside of a regular orange Nike shoebox with no extra accessories. The colorway we have today is the black and white colorway that consists of black, dark smoke gray, and white. Something that I found interesting was that Nike doesn't have a lot of colorway options for the Winflo 8. Plus, there's only 2 colorways that I think are more of that colorful running shoe like aesthetic that they actually have to offer. When you first take the shoes out of the box, you can tell that they are very similar to last year's Winflo 7, as they are lightweight and they seem to be very breathable. However, the new upper and fly wire were also quite noticeable since they gave this shoe a translucent touch this year, but we'll talk about this more in a bit. And something else that I noticed right away was that the midsole and outsole did not change at all compared to last year. And something else to keep in mind is that last year with the Winflo 7, Nike did not have a wide option for sizing. They only had regular and extra wide. But this year they even took away the extra wide sizing option for the Winflo 8. Although the shoe has a slightly more adjustable fit due to a couple new features, the overall fit for the Winflo 8 is still a bit narrow. So it's a bit surprising that Nike took away the wider sizing options for the Winflo 8, unless they want you to buy a shoe that's a little bit more wide by nature, but also $30 more expensive. The new features on this year's Winflo 8 are primarily found on the upper and on the top half of the shoe. As mentioned earlier, they added a new double layer translucent mesh upper to this year's version of the Winflo. The top layer of the upper is the one that feels a little bit thinner, but also provides the translucent aspect to the shoe. The bottom layer is actually very similar to the Winflo 7 upper. It is simply hidden or covered by the top translucent layer. Just like last year, there are perforations at the forefoot found in the bottom layer of the upper that allow for breathability. I have to admit, I am still unsure about the new upper. I didn't mind last year's more knitted mesh, and it feels like this year's is not as flexible. At the same time though, the shoe's still pretty breathable and the translucent upper gives off a unique aesthetic, but aesthetics don't necessarily help with running. On the medial side of the shoe, however, the translucent upper showcases the flywire cables that were added to this year's version of the shoe. This flywire system aims to help with fit, support, and stability of the shoe. I noticed a big difference from last year in the way that the shoe fit and how it became molded to my foot, giving me a more snug and solid fit with the help of flywire, which is why I am and have been a huge fan of the flywire mechanism for a while. Now, one of the most subtle changes, primarily because it has nothing to do with performance, is the Nike and Winflo branding at the tongue. Now, this is a very interesting one, or at least I thought so, because I got pretty hyped up when I figured it out. But on the tongue, you'll see the text Zoom Winflo followed by a series of numbers at the bottom. After digging for some information, I figured out that if you were to use a telephone pad with those numbers and you try to type a message with them, you could spell out the words Nike Zoom Winflo. And again, nothing major or related to performance, but I thought it was pretty cool. Looking at the bottom half of the shoe, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, nothing really changed from last year. And because of this, I also won't be going too in depth on this bottom half since I already talked about it in my unboxing video for the Winflo 7. So go check it out if you haven't already. Kohl is still the foam found in the midsole, and it is quite noticeable that it's a little bit more stiff, especially if you're used to softer foams like React. On the other hand, and possibly my favorite feature on these and the 7s, is that the 2 Air Zoom units are still present, and they are also amazing. The responsiveness and bounciness that these provide is noticeable, especially the one under the ball of your foot. Even with the slightly more stiff Kohl foam, these 2 units made up for it, and I am personally a big fan of how responsive and cushioning they are. The outsole is still full rubber, and it features the slit pattern we were introduced to last year. The pattern helps a bit with providing the shoe with extra flexibility, and a more natural stride while running. And the rubber also helps protect the foam and keeps it from wearing down as fast. Running with these shoes has been a great experience overall. It's just very similar to running with the Winflo 7. I took them out for a little over 6 miles, like I said earlier, and they were stable. The fit was snug for the most part, and they felt incredibly lightweight. And I'm actually a huge fan of the way that my stride fell with the slit pattern at the bottom of the shoe. It felt more natural and like my foot was hitting the ground properly. The two Air Zoom units were noticeable on every run, but I cannot complain about the cushioning that they provide, as this is huge for me since I've had injuries or experienced injuries in the past. The two units also helped a lot when I wore the shoes for one of my HIIT workouts. There is a lot of jumping and landing in some of the exercises, and these were great for that. However, wearing these outside of a performance environment might not be the best idea. I wore them to work one time for an 8-hour shift, and the more narrow fit definitely started playing a role into how comfortable they were. Now, mind you, I wore them for the first time and they weren't broken in, but I do feel like these have a lot more value when used around performance. Although there are a couple situations where you can wear these a little bit more casually, like amusement parks or anywhere really where you're walking around for a bit. The shoes are obviously comfortable, and when you're at these places, you tend to wear a little bit more athletic or leisure wear, so it kind of works out. The Winflo 8 introduced a couple changes that help with the shoe's fit, but the performance is very similar to the Winflo 7. So an upgrade might not be all that necessary if you're happy with the 7. And that was it for today's video. I really hope you liked it and got something useful out of it. If you did, please go ahead and subscribe and like the video. It would mean a lot. And if you have the Winflo 8, don't forget to leave a comment down below with your thoughts and opinions on it so other people watching can also consider them. And once again, that was it for today. Pablo, out.